Hi everyone, in this lecture we're going to look at organizational culture. So the learning objectives for this chapter is describe the meaning, importance, and origins of organizational culture, discuss cultures of conflict and cultures of inclusion, identify and discuss how technology and innovation affect organizational culture, describe how effective organizations manage their culture. So the meaning and determinants of organizational culture. Organizational culture, a system of shared values, norms, and assumptions that guide members' attitudes and behaviors. Cultural values, often taken for granted, implicit, taught to new members as they're socialized into the group, take a long time to evolve and a long time to change, can enhance organizational performance, made up of formal and informal practices, artifacts, expose values and norms and assumptions. Culture is a very important thing when it comes to a company. A lot of times when interviewed or interviewing, that's something to take into consideration. Will this person fit with our culture or the culture that we're trying to create if it's a change? And that'll be the next lecture. So continued artifacts, so physical manifestations of culture, so myths and stories, awards, rituals, decorations, office space allocations, and a dress code. We used to have this gong, and every time sales made a sale, we would hit the gong. So espouse values and norms, so preferred values and norms explicitly stated by the organization. Enacted values and norms that employees exhibit based on their observations of what actually goes on in the organization. Override exposed values and norms. And then assumptions, organizational values that have become so taken for granted over time that they become the core of the company's culture. Looking at this a little bit visually, so organizational culture has 4 levels: artifacts, assumption, exposed values, and enacted values, and kind of how they work together. So meaning and determinants of organizational culture. So does culture even matter? Yes, is the answer. So boost organizational performance when it is strategically relevant, strong, emphasize innovation and change to adapt to the changing environment, can be a source of competitive advantage. Strong versus weak cultures. Now, this is where it could get iffy. Like a good culture or strong culture is good, obviously. So strong cultures clarify appropriate behavior, are widely shared and internally consistent. Strong cultures aren't always better than weak cultures. They must be positive, not negative. Um, when it comes to current things like the Me Too movement and all these types of things, that boys club type mentality is a sign of some companies that might have a strong culture, but that is obviously a negative aspect of it. So uh, hopefully that can help shape what that means. So how leaders create and maintain culture, so varies by industry and national identity. Identity society. Culture is influenced by company founders and leaders. So culture is shaped early on, then reinforced by philosophy, values, vision, and goals. Cultural choices influence company structure, competition system, customer relations, and human resource policies, individual behavior, and motivation. All these items reinforce culture. Culture may need to change due to changes in strategy, technology, or organizational structure. Culture may vary across different areas of the organization. This is going to be a fun one. So, how leaders can influence an organizational culture. So, develop a clear sense of mission and value about what the company should be and communicate it to the employees through what you pay attention to, measure, and control. Uh, you know, if you see something inappropriate, that is not our culture. Make sure you stand and don't deviate from your true north. Select employees who share, express, and reinforce the desired values in order to help build the desired culture. Like I said, this happens a lot in the interview process. So furniture retailer IKEA hires employees based on their attitudes, values, and fit with the company culture as much as their qualifications. Steelmaker Nucor Corporation protects its culture by making cultural compatibility a key issue in acquiring other companies. In visiting companies it is interested in acquiring. Nucor pays careful attention to how plant managers and employees interact. Culture is a hard thing to change, and so this company, by taking this approach, is making it easier on themselves in the long run. Use daily routines and concrete actions and behaviors to demonstrate and exemplify appropriate values and beliefs. For example, Walmart employees are consistently reminded of the company's cost control culture, reinforcing the company's thrift. A Walmart vice president responsible for billions of dollars worth of businesses with his visitors sit in mismatched cast off lawn chairs, likely left behind as free samples during a sales call. Continued on in this topic. So consistently role model behaviors that reinforce the culture. So going back to Walmart, CEO Lee Scott and Chief Financial Officer Tom Schwoe, each earn millions of dollars a year as their salary. But on business trips, the two regularly share a modest hotel room. Sharing rooms is a very symbolic part of what we do. Scott says it's also an equalizer. If I'm asking the district managers to share a room, but I won't share a room with Schwoe, then what am I saying? There are two different standards here. The customer is the most important thing for all of us, but I think I'll run a different standard. Leaders set the culture, and employees learn what behaviors and attitudes are appropriate from their leaders' behaviors. Really, it's true. Company, when the cat's away, the mice will play, kind of thing. If leaders aren't setting the proper example, then why should I follow this rule? So from the top down, it has to go. So make your human resource management procedures and criteria consistent. Communicate your priorities in a way you reward employees. Linked raises and promotions to specific behaviors, communications, leaders' priorities. So when Lou Gransert took the lead of IBM, he reinforces performance focus with performance appraisal and compensation systems. Nurture traditions and rituals that express, define, and reinforce the culture. Award and recognition ceremonies, having the CEO address new employees during their orientation, and recent stories of past company success can all define and reinforce a firm's culture. Setting the example during orientation, things like that. Think of sports. I'm pretty sure you guys have a specific culture on your teams, and you really set that in the beginning. Culture and conflict and cultures of inclusion. So conflict cultures share norms and managing conflict. So active conflict management norms resolve conflicts openly. Passive conflict management norms avoid addressing conflict. Agreeable conflict managing norms resolve conflict in a corporative manner. Disagreeable conflict management norms resolve conflicts competitively. So cultures for managing conflict in this figure below. So there are 4 kinds of cultures of conflict. These vary based on active or passive norms and agreeable or disagreeable norms. So an active disagreeable is dominating. Active agreeable is collaborative. Passive disagreeable is passive aggressive. Passive and agreeable is avoidant. Conflicts of culture and cultures and inclusion continued. Dominating conflict cultures, active and disagreeable, allow open conflict. Collaborative conflict cultures, active and agreeable, employees resolve conflict cooperatively. Avoidant conflict cultures, passive and agreeable, strive to preserve order and harmony. Passive aggressive, product of cultures, passive and disagreeable, conflict handled by refusing to participate. And lastly, cultures of inclusion. So to extend to what majority members value efforts to include minority representation and whether the qualifications and abilities of minorities are questioned. An important aspect of diversity management. So pro-diversity cultures are related to lower turnover and reduce absenteeism. Effects of technology and innovation on culture. So using internets to build and maintain culture. Internet's like an internal internet that you can only access, and the company Wi-Fi, and sometimes you can only access that website. Period. So, issue is not just about using the latest technologies, but also leveraging the right technologies for creating and maintaining a positive culture. Ways internet influence culture. So, by their scope, by their openness to employee feedback and contributions, by how frequently with which they are updated, by the number of intranets, by the use of symbols, stories, and ceremonies. Building and maintaining culture with remote employees, so harder to reinforce cultural values, affect employee identification with the organization. Innovation and culture, so innovation, the process of creating and doing new things that are introduced into the marketplace as products, processes, and services. Radical or disruptive innovation, so major breakthrough that changes or creates whole industries. System innovation creates new functionality by assembling existing parts in new ways. Incremental innovation continues the technical improvement and exists the applications of radical and system innovations. So continued on, new ventures require entrepreneurship and good management. Large organizations use entrepreneurship to innovate. Entrepreneurial activity that takes place within the context of a larger organization. So internal entrepreneurship is what they're trying to say. Corporate research, the most common means of developing innovation in a traditional organization, also known as research and development. Managing organizational culture, so ways to manage organizational culture. So take advantage of existing culture, positive, of course. Teach the organizational culture through socialization. Socialization is the process through which individuals become social beings. Organizational socialization is the process through which employees learn about the firm's culture and pass their knowledge and understanding on to others. Train the trainer type of a strategy. Changing the organizational culture. Managing symbols, organization cultures is understood and communicated through the use of stories and other symbolic media, the internet, things like that. Difficulty of change. Culture can be difficult to change when upper management inadvertently reverts to old behaviors. It's got to start from the top. Stability of change. New values and beliefs must be seen as stable and as influential as old ones. Changing value systems require enormous effort because value systems tend to be self-reinforced. And so what we'll do is, actually I can get these in. Organizational behavior and action. So actually, no, these are the end of my slides. So this is organizational culture. Of course, read your chapter, answer your discussion post, but culture is very important when it comes to organizations as a whole. A lot of times leadership teams have to think about what the culture they want, what is the output of it, and how do we execute it. And if you see any negative aspects of the culture, how do we nip it before it gets out of control? All right. Everybody have a nice week. Bye.